Hare Krishna. Thank you for singing Guru Puja. You were just swept into the temple and thrown right on there. Thank you. I believe we'll be riding together to New Dvip today. My name's Nanda Braja. Yeah. Hare Krishna. Welcome, welcome. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Welcome to our morning Srimad Bhagavatam class. Today we're going to be reading from Canto 9, Chapter 18, verses 24 through 33. We'll read all of the translations and all of the purports, but we will be focusing specifically on text 32. Before doing so, we're going to sing a wonderful, beautiful song called Jai Radha Madhava. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodhanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodhanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodhanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodhanandana Braja Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashodhanandana Braja Ranjana Yashodhanandana Braja Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Radha Kalashanji Radha Kalashanji Shri Radhe Jaya Radha Madhava Shri Radhe Jaya Radha Govinda Shri Radhe Nayo Radha Shamasunda Radha Shamasunda Shri Radhe. Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Shri Radha Madhava ki jai. Shri the Prabhupada ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We'll do the invocation verses together. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devyam sarasvatim vyasam tato jayam udirayet. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead, Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Sarasvati, the goddess of learning, and to unto Sri Vyasadeva, the author. Nashta preya shahabreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati utama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. By regular attendance on the classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering a service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome in a heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Om Gyantamarandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Shakshuramlitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and by my spiritual master he opened my darkened eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Namo Vishnu Paraya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Sarasvati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavati Pasyata Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Okay, let's start with text 24, please.
Translation. Thereafter, when the learned king returned to his palace, Devayani returned home crying and told her father, Sukracharya, about all that had happened because of some mister. She told how she had been thrown into the well but was saved by the king.
Text 25. As Shukracharya listened to what had happened to Devayani, his mind was very much aggrieved, condemning the profession of priesthood and praising the profession of Unchavritti. Collecting grains from the fields, he left home with his daughter.
Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. When a Brahmana adopts the profession of Kopta, or pigeon, he lives by collecting grains from the field. This is called Uncha Vritti. A Brahmana who takes to this Uncha Vritti profession is called first class because he depends completely on the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and does not beg from anyone. Although the profession of begging is allowed for the Brahmana and sannyasi, one does better if he can avoid such a profession and completely depend on the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead for maintenance. Sukracharya was certainly very sorry that because of his daughter's complaint, he had to go to his disciple and beg some mercy, which he was obliged to do because he had accepted the profession of priesthood. In his heart, Sukracharya did not like his profession, but since he had accepted it, he was obliged to go unwillingly to his disciple to settle the grievance submitted by his daughter. So we'll This is a nice theme actually about doing our duty here. He had to do his duty and he wasn't so happy with it. Let's continue.
King Vishaparva understood that Shukracharya was coming to chastise or curse him. Consequently, before Shukracharya came to his house, Vishaparva went out and fell down in the street at the feet of his guru and satisfied him, checking his wrath.
So if your guru's coming at you with some red eyes, fall down flat.
Text 27. The powerful Shukracharya was angry for a few moments, but upon being satisfied, he said to Vrishaparva, "My dear king, kindly fulfill the desire of Devayani, for she is my daughter, and in this world I cannot give her up or neglect her."
So what is he saying? He wants him to marry his daughter because he saved his daughter in the well, and he offered his hand to her to help her up. And Devyani, when she touched the hand of the king, she said, "Oh, this is by providence. You are now my husband." Purport: sometimes a great personality like Sukracharya cannot neglect sons and daughters, for sons and daughters are by nature dependent on their father, and the father has affection for them. Although Sukracharya knew that the quarrel between Devyani and Sarmistya was childish, as Devyani's father, he had to side with his daughter. He did not like to do this, but he was obliged to because of affection. He plainly admitted that although he should not have asked the king for mercy for his daughter because of affection, he could not avoid doing so.
After hearing Sukracharya's request, Vrishaparva agreed to fulfill Devayani's desire, and he awaited her words. Devayani then expressed her desire as following: "Whenever I marry by the order of my father, my friend Samrishta must go with me as my maidservant along with her friends."
Does anybody think she was asking this request because of the kindness of her heart? Probably not, huh? Ha! She threw me in the well and now she'll be my maidservant. Go ahead, 30:29.
Vrishaparva wisely thought that Shukracharya's displeasure would bring danger and that his pleasure would bring material gain. Therefore he carried out Shukracharya's order and served him like a slave. He gave his daughter Sharmishta to Devyani, and Sharmishta served Devyani like a slave along with thousands of other women.
Purport by His Divine Grace. In the beginning of these affairs concerning Sharmishta and Devyani, we saw that Sharmishta had many friends. Now these friends became maidservants of Devyani. When a girl married a Kshatriya king, it was customary for all her girlfriends to go with her to her husband's house. For instance, when Vyasadeva married Devaki, the mother of Krishna, he married all 6 of her sisters, and she also had many friends who accompanied her. A king would maintain not only his wife, but also the many friends and maidservants of his wife. Some of the maidservants would become pregnant and give birth to children. Such children were accepted as Dasyaputra, the sons of the maidservants, and the king would maintain them. The female population is always greater than the male, but since a woman needs to be protected by a man, the king would maintain many girls who acted either as friends or as maidservants of the queen. In the history of Krishna's household life, we find that Krishna married 16,108 wives. Wow, these were not maidservants, but direct queens, and Krishna expanded himself into 16,108 forms to maintain different establishments for each and every wife. This is not possible for an ordinary man. Therefore, all the kings had to maintain many, many servants and wives. Not all of them had different establishments.
When Sukracharya gave Devayani in marriage to Yayati, he had Samishta go with her. But he warned the king, "My dear king, never allow this girl Samishta to lie with you in your bed."
There's a warning.
O King Parikshit, upon seeing Devyani with a nice son, Sharmishta once approached the king Yayati at the appropriate time for conception. In a secluded place, she requested the king, the husband of her friend Devanani, to enable her to have a son also.
I wonder how Devyani is going to feel about this.
When Princess Sharmishta begged King Yayati for the son, the king was certainly aware of the principles of religion, and therefore he agreed to fulfill her desire. Although he remembered the warning of Shukracharya, he thought of this union as the desire of the Supreme, and thus he had sex with Sharmishta.
We'll come back to this purport because this is going to be our focus verse. So we'll just read this last 133 and then we'll go back to that one. Please.
Devyani gave birth to Yadu and Turvashu, and Sarmishta gave birth to Druyu,
Oh my God.
Anu, and Puru.
Oh my gosh, she had 3.
Yeah.
Okay. 32. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Getting advanced. Very nice. Raja Putra Tito Pate Dharmam Chavesha Dharmavit Smaran Chukra Vacha Kale Distam Eva Baya Padayata Distam Eva Baya Padyata Raja Putra Tratito Pate Dharmam Chaveksha Dharmavit Smaran Chukra Vacha Kale Distam Eva Baya Padayata. Bolo, please. Smaran Chukra Vacha Kale Distam Eva Padayata Raja Prutya Tatitote Dharmam Chaveksha Dharmavit Smaran Chukra Vacha Kale Distam Eva Baya Padayat Rajaputra Tito Pate Dharma Chaveksha Dharmavit Dvaram Chukra Vachakale Dishta Eva Bayapada. We're just going to go right into the translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. When the princess Sarmishta begged King Yayati for a son, the king was certainly aware of the principles of religion, and therefore he agreed to fulfill her desire. Although he remembered the warning of Sukracharya, he thought of his union as the desire of the Supreme, and thus he had sex with Sarmishta. Purport. King Yayati was completely aware of the duty of the Kshatriya. When a Kshatriya is approached by a woman, he cannot deny her. This is a religious principle. Consequently, when Dharmaraj, Yudhisthira, saw Arjun unhappy after Arjun returned from Dwarka, he asked whether Arjun had refused a woman who had begged for a son. Although Marajati remembered Sukracharya's warning, he could not refuse Sarmistya. He thought it was wise to give her a son, and thus he had sexual intercourse with her after her menstrual period. This kind of lust is not against religious principles. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, Dharma vyadyardyo bhutashu kamo sumi. Sex life, not contrary to the principles of religion, is sanctioned by Krishna. Because Sarmista, the daughter of the king, had begged Yayati for a son, their combination was not lust, but an act of religion. Hare Krishna. Very interesting, right? One might say, when they see this is very confusing, Srila Prabhupada. We have 4 regular principles in the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. But here we see that the kings are having children with people that they're not even married to. They're maidservants. But we should understand that kings in this day followed a certain type of religion. They were grown up in this religion. They had the guru, they had trained, they were schooled in what was the religious principle and how to take care of society in the proper way. And as Srila Prabhupada mentions in another purport, the world always has more women than men. And so when you have proper husbands, proper men who are taking on their role properly, then they can marry more than one wife. But Srila Prabhupada was very clear that this doesn't happen nowadays. You probably say it's because the men aren't qualified to do so. Right? Yeah. So, so we should understand that in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Sarva Dharma Prityaja. He says that abandon all varieties of religion, just surrender to me, I will take care of you, do not worry, I will take care of your sins. So how can we relate to this? Well, there's so many different varieties of religion. The king is following one, the Brahmins are following one, the Vaishyas are following one, and so on, right? But what religion do we follow in the International Society for Krishna Consciousness? Our religion is different than this? Maybe. We're supposed to abandon all other types of religion, all varieties of religion, and we surrender to Krishna, right? He's saying, I will take care of you. But Krishna says also in the Bhagavad Gita, what? He suggests that we take shelter of a spiritual master. He says that we should take shelter of this spiritual master by surrendering to them, inquiring submissively, rendering some service, and then what will happen? That spiritual master will impart truth to the disciple because he has seen it. And so in the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, our religious principles, the religion that we follow is one that Srila Prabhupada has given us. And that's 4 regulative principles, and we chant 16 rounds of attentive japa. And with this, we are guaranteed to be on the path back home, back to Godhead. So we don't need to get bewildered by such things as kings having sex with their maidservants and having children. It can be disturbing, but if we are very fixed up in what our spiritual master, our founder Acharya has said, then we're not so disturbed by things. But we must be very loyal to our religion, to our variety of religion. We must be very loyal to our Srila Prabhupada, who's given us the path home back to Godhead. I remember hearing about a situation in a temple where there was a very senior Gaudiya Math devotee. And so it was during the time of Srimad Bhagavatam class. And so there was a little huddle on the sign, and the devotees were saying, what do we do? Do we offer him the Vyasasan? And there was something about it that they knew that they shouldn't offer him the Vyasasan, but it was a little bit of trouble. There's a varieties of religion being done right here. Do we give it to the senior person? Or because we're in the Institute of ISKCON, is that appropriate? And so one of the devotees thought brilliantly, I know what. Ask him if he accepts His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada is his founder Acharya. And if he accepts this, then he can have the Vyasasan. And so they went and asked, Maharaj, do you accept Srila Prabhupada as your founder Acharya? Stood there and thought for a second, said, no, I don't. And it was automatically understood. Nothing more needed to be said. He understood he was not going to get the Vyasasan, and they understood that he wasn't getting, and he was okay with not taking the Vyasasan because we are in the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, and sitting right here is our founder Acharya. And so when we sit on the Vyasasan, we are supposed to be representing the founder Acharya. So we should be very loyal to Srila Prabhupada. For instance, he's very much knows the issues that can happen when the Acharya leaves his body. He experienced this through the Gaudiya Math. When Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj left his body, it was like madness. People trying to take the throne, you could say. And Srila Prabhupada experienced this. So he gave us certain things that we could understand so that we wouldn't get in the same troubles. For instance, he said what? He said, my books are the law books of the next 10,000 years. It doesn't get clearer than that. But we have philosophies that come in, arguments that come in like, did the jiva fall or does the jiva born into material? And Srila Prabhupada throughout his book says so many times that the jiva fell, but yet we still have some debate about it. Let's talk about it, guys. Maybe it's not. I remember one time there was a sannyasi when I was in Boise, Idaho, that I had been invited to a program, and he was a Gaudiya Math. It doesn't really matter. I'm not like, well, actually, I don't know. Actually, he wasn't Gaudiya Math. Excuse me. The sannyasi was coming, and he was appreciated. He's known. And so I asked my guru, what do we do in situations like this? We're invited to a program. It's done by somebody that we know, that we want to be friendly with. And he said, look, Kirtan, Prasadam, do not talk philosophy. This is what Srila Prabhupada's given us. We don't talk philosophy. Matter of fact, if you get into the Gaudiya Math, sometimes there's many different people saying, oh, at ISKCON, they're teaching a low level of Krishna consciousness. But if you come over to the Gaudiya Math, we're teaching a high level of philosophy. And that's why you only have to chant 4 rounds and these things and these things. It's ridiculous. So we must purify, we must fortify our consciousness to understand and be very loyal to Srila Prabhupada. There is no discussion about the jiva. If Srila Prabhupada came to me right now and said, Nanda Braja, actually the jiva is born into material life, I still wouldn't believe it. I'd still deny it, because yet he said in his book so many times that this is the case. And we just need to be like, that's it. For instance, there's a debate going on right now about a certain sannyasi saying that there's no evidence that Draupadi was disrobed in the assembly. And yet in Srila Prabhupada so many times says in his books that this happened. Why is it a debate? It shouldn't even be discussed. If you want to discuss it in some way, you at least should be discussing it from the eyes of Srila Prabhupada. I don't mean to disturb anybody's consciousness about these different things, but it's important that we realize that there's things like this that are very clear that Srila Prabhupada established for us that are now being debated, and it's not so okay. It's not okay. In his books, he clearly states these things. Matter of fact, there's a video. Anyways. So, Srila Prabhupada also, in the understanding that there would be things like this to fortify us, to understand that he's our founder Acharya, he established each morning that there's something we do in our morning program every day, and it's called Guru Puja. He established that to help us to understand each day that we come here and all come together to appreciate Srila Prabhupada as our founder Acharya. There's no other mats, there's no other organizations that have Guru Puja at 7:30 each morning in their temples. And that Guru Puja is for us to come together and remember Srila Prabhupada. established for him. So we're speaking about this because in the purport, and in this verse, we're hearing about a king who is following religion and it's going outside of our four regular principles. But we should be very understanding and loyal to our founder, Acharya, his divine grace, that he has given us the perfect religion, the perfect process to go back home, back to Godhead. And therefore, we should be very much listening to his books, reading his books, and understanding that these are the law books for the next 10,000 years. And we're very fortunate. We should have so much gratitude for this. There's a lot of people out there that have different religions, and they're so confused about so many different things. And some people in ISKCON are confused about so many different things too, because we're not reading Srila Prabhupada's books as much as we should. But the truth is we have it so available to us. We have it so available to us to understand Srila Prabhupada clearly by hearing from him, by hearing from his lectures, by hearing from his books, and clearing any misconceptions. And then in a assembly of devotees, we can work together to understand Srila Prabhupada even more, to grow in our understanding of how to serve him, and we can take over the world. Pretty amazing. So, it's 8:13. I could go for a little bit more, but I think that I'll open it up and let's start a discussion. Got about 25 minutes for a discussion. Any thoughts? So the point is that my point that this is about duty. He didn't want to do his duty, but because of his loyalty of his duty, which we could say in this sense of our talk right here, is the sense of our duty to Srila Prabhupada and our loyalty. Sometimes it might not be the most palatable thing, but our only desire is to go back home, back to Godhead. And that is through following the orders of the spiritual master. Distasteful or not distasteful, who cares? I'm going back home. I don't want to do this again. I want to serve Krishna life after life. I want to serve Srila Prabhupada life after life. So sometimes we struggle with our duty, and we struggle with the Srila Prabhupada, how he's speaking in his books. There's a lot of things right now that are discussed about how we can't, how people of this age can't understand Srila Prabhupada's books. And so we need to do this and that and this and that. Okay, I'm not saying that we shouldn't be very thoughtful in the way that we preach Krishna consciousness, but we got to make sure that we keep Srila Prabhupada the center. Srila Prabhupada is doing something very powerful for us. And a lot of people don't want to admit this. But what he does is he attracts people that are meant for us, for our movement, and he will repel the people that aren't meant for us. I heard something said very interesting recently, and it says, is there demons in ISKCON? And I heard the answer like this. Well, when Krishna was on earth, in front of Krishna there was demons. So is there demons within our International Society for Krishna Consciousness? Probably. And so we shouldn't be too distraught about that. Instead, we fortify ourselves by understanding our founder Acharya and become very strict in his path that he's given us. And we're not so disturbed by it being distasteful or not distasteful. We have no problem preaching Srila Prabhupada's words. If you don't understand them, then talk to somebody who does. If you're embarrassed about what Srila Prabhupada says because you don't understand it, then work on your consciousness so that you can understand what Srila Prabhupada is saying. And then when you preach, you can say it in a way that becomes palatable. So that was the point of coming back to that point. It's sometimes it's not so fun to do our duty. Any questions, comments, thoughts? Yes.
So Sukracharya, he is very much revered by many personalities.
Yeah.
But I want to know what is the basis of his devotion? What is his goal? in life. I mean, did
Mm.
Shukracharya ever think about going back to Godhead?
That's a good question.
You know?
I'm not so versed in that. I'm not so versed in the history of Sukracharya. Yeah,
Okay.
we should look for Gokula Nanda, huh?
Yeah.
Where did
I
Gokula?
was looking to see if he was here, but
Jai Guranga
yeah.
or Achyuta Govinda? Do you know the history or the understanding of Sukracharya in his
Is he mainly for, like,
devotion?
material benefit or material
Mm.
life? Is that his?
Yes, Prabhuji.
During Vamanadev's pastime,
Oh,
I think
because
we did-
Sukracharya tells Bali not to give, and Sukracharya is
and I think
chastised by Krishna later.
I think in I don't remember exactly, but in one of those purports, I think Srila Prabhupada gives more information about Shukracharya.
You're right. Srila Prabhupada says that eventually Sukracharya does get worked out. He says that Sukracharya was not for the best interest of his devotee going back home to God. But from what I remember is Srila Prabhupada does say that Sukracharya does work things out. I'm not sure which way, I'm not sure the history about it, but eventually he gets. So it'd be interesting to understand if he's worked out his relationship with Krishna yet or not.
I think we can go back and reread those purports
Yeah.
to refresh our Kali Yuga memories.
Oh gosh. Okay.
Maybe not
So-
now, but
Yeah.
as
That's
a
good.
homework.
So there we go. So we have this wonderful community that listens in. So YouTube out there or any devotees, if you could, please help provide some of Srila Prabhupada's purports and his reading about Sukracharya and his history. Yeah. Yes, Prabhu.
Can I make another? This when you were speaking about the importance of our founder Acharya, Srila Prabhupada, this memory came to me that once Bibi Govinda Maharaj was in Vrindavan and he was walking, and Srila Prabhupada's godbrother Srila Krishna Das Babaji Maharaj. So he stopped Maharaj, Bibi Govinda Maharaj, and said, "Do you know your spiritual master is one of the most I think I'm not exactly remembering the words, but he's one of the most important acharyas in our line." About Srila Prabhupada, His Divine Grace.
Srila Prabhupada ki
If anyone
jai.
remembers, they can actually say the exact words. Thought that just
We're
came
very
to me.
fortunate. So fortunate. And we must. I apologize if I'm disturbing anybody's mind. But I can't help but just, I felt like in this purport, in this understanding, was to really hammer this point. We must fortify ourselves by understanding Srila Prabhupada's books, by reading them, and keeping things away from our society that are hurtful. There's people that will enter to try to hurt us. I don't want to get into the conspiracy theories or anything, but when you have something pure, there are people that want to take it away. Let's just leave it as simple as that. When you have something pure, people want to take away and they want to hurt it. And some of the times they don't even know they're doing it on purpose. Sometimes they do. And so if we can understand this gratitude, how much Srila Prabhupada means to us and how amazing of a spiritual master we had, we can read his books with more confidence that he's giving us the perfect process to go back home to Godhead, and we don't need to wiggle. Matter of fact, I was speaking about how I went to this program with the sannyasi, and I was telling you how I acquired from my spiritual master, and he said, prasadam, kirtan, no philosophy. Later on, that person wrote a book about the jiva is actually born in the material world. Something completely against, by the way, I'm not interested in their thoughts. I'm not saying that he's against religion. Whatever his acharya says, Hare Krishna. Good, go for that. Be loyal to your lineage. I'm okay with that. But not in our ISKCON. In our ISKCON, Srila Prabhupada has given it to us, and so we follow it, And so we just need to be very astute to this.
This may be one of the references on Shukracharya where it said that he was never inspired by the Supreme Personality of God. Sorry.
I think somewhere else he says that.
He was never inspired by the Supreme Personality of Godhead to develop in devotional service.
But I could have swore that he mentioned somewhere that Shukracharya, because I'm wondering if he's saying particular here of Vamanadev. He wasn't moved by Vamanadev here, you know? But later on, he could have been moved by the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Yeah, after that, of course, then then Vamanadev asks Shukracharya, did your disciple do anything wrong? And he was like, no, he certainly.
Yeah.
And then he did the yagya to fix any of the
there we go.
discrepancies that might have happened.
Yeah. Vamana looks at him, says, what do you think? Okay, I made a mistake. I may have made a mistake. Any other comments, thoughts? What have you experienced in your life that has put you in a position where you're asked to compromise something that you've learned from Srila Prabhupada or your spiritual master, and it's taken you to step up in a way that wasn't so comfortable, but maybe you did? Anybody have any situations like that?
Just that I didn't think I would get married.
Mm.
When I joined ISKCON, I just wanted to travel and preach and distribute books, and I was asked to get married and have children. So, yeah, had to change and step up.
Was that a big shift for you? Were you really
Huge
attached
shift.
to? Oh,
Huge
you were in nun mode.
No, I didn't want to. I didn't want any children.
Oh, wow.
Didn't want to get married.
Wow.
No.
And now that you've done that and had that experience, when you look back, how do you feel?
It was Gurudev's blessing. He saw what I couldn't see.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm very grateful.
Now we have a temple president.
Extremely grateful.
And another temple, two temple presidents, right? Is your other son a temple president, or is he just very? Okay, he's a board of directors. Wow. I'll do my pitch. All the younger devotees, more and more in our society, people are having less than children, but we have such a wonderful opportunity with an established society that has wonderful schools, wonderful tools to teach our kids through homeschooling. Or please have 4 or 5, 10 kids, okay? You can do it. No more of this 1, 2 kids. By the way, anybody only has 1 and 2. I only have 2 myself. I'm not like, not chastising anyone. It's just that our younger people, our younger devotees who have been born in this movement are such nice devotees, and they're finding such nice devotional service. Please, have many kids. I dream of seeing 10, each Gurukuli having 10 kids running behind them. little ducklings. And then they'll be here at Srimad Bhagavatam class, asking questions and chanting verses. Just kids. Any other thoughts? Questions, comments, chastisements, corrections? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. I was thinking of a takeaway, just meditating. We've been discussing this pastime with our children, and my husband and I, we've been discussing. And I think one takeaway from Devyani's character is that to us, her behavior seems very childish and not mature. But at the end of this pastime, we know that she fixed her mind on the lotus feet of Lord and went back. So
spoiler.
It gives us a lot of hope that despite our imperfections, we can hope that we are also able to really focus our mind on the lotus feet of Krishna.
How many petty things are you working on?
Yeah.
I have a few. I don't want to talk about them. Yeah, we all have little petty things we're doing, right? Or little, especially if we're married. I was given the advice by Mother Maha Bhagavat, a Srila Prabhupada disciple, very powerful preacher. Oh my gosh. Her husband is very calm, cool, and collective. And she told me, first of all, she found out my wife and I weren't married when we were coming around. She said, "You guys get married." Srila Prabhupada didn't like that. So not too long ago we got married. And then she said, "You guys will fight. Don't take it so serious. Just don't take," and I kind of, that's in the back of my mind whenever I get into a serious argument with my wife, is don't take it so serious. And we can also, with arguments that we get within our community who are friends and families, not take it too serious. I'm not saying we don't try to do it and we don't take care of it, but not take it so serious that it stops us from working together or apologizing or forgiving or accepting apologies. Sometimes we can be so stubborn in one way that we can't let the healing happen, that, mistakes happen. We got 12 more minutes. I'm going to sit here until you guys talk. What's your question? What's your thought? You've been coming for a couple days now, right? You and your brother? Yeah. Thank you for coming. What's your thoughts about this pastime or what you've been hearing the last couple days? Here's Mike. Do you have any Devayanis in your school?
If someone acts that childish when they're like that old, I already know that they had a bad influence on them, because they would not be acting that way if they were raised in a proper family.
Yeah, we can when we see people acting in behaviors that aren't palatable, we can understand they didn't have the tools to be able to overcome it. I agree with you. I remember one time, anyways, divulging too much, my daughter was upset with me because of the father I was. And I said, I understand. Trust me, I understand the mistakes I've made, and I apologize for it. And I said, try to understand that I also grew up in a family where I wasn't given so many good tools to be able to be a good father and communicate. And I saw right then when she saw it, her whole face change, like, oh, you're in the same situation I'm in. You weren't able to give me a lot of the tools that I need to be a good, good human. But you weren't. The only reason why that is because you weren't given them. It was, can help us to overcome a lot, not take things so serious, right? Oh, they weren't given the right tools. Very, very nice. Understanding. Okay. Any other questions, comments? Should we ask your brother? What's your thoughts?
So basically this pastime is what enables Krishna to come in. So basically when Devyani and Sharmishta get into the fight, if she hadn't had thrown Devyani into the well, then maybe the king wouldn't have met either of them. So none of this would be happening. So
So how do you make that practical in your life? That understanding. How do you see that in your world?
I'm not sure.
Well, how about this? That you're going to come through some tough times, and you're going to have people that are going to be mean to you. You're going to have obstacles in your way. But you can have the confidence that Krishna has some kind of plan. That Krishna is not doing this to you, but he's doing it for you. You might have to get through some things. You might have to grow a little bit. You might have to be given something that makes you become a bigger man, you know? And if you take like that, instead of saying, why me? This stinks. Why does this happen? And you just get into this mode of why? Instead of what can I do to grow? What can I do to learn how Krishna is protecting me, or how Krishna's hands in this in some way, shape, or form? And at some point he comes in, he shows you. And then your trust in Krishna strengthens. And when our trust develops, then love builds. You can't love somebody you don't trust. Except for Krishna. You can't trust him. He will do things. But in general, you can. You have a comment? Oh, Lalita. There we go.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. So I was just following up on the comment, like somebody might be behaving like this because they...
In a little farther from your mouth. There you go. Thank you.
Somebody might be behaving like that, maybe because they don't have a good upbringing, but I feel like a person's character or behavior is not so linear, because of course we might have seen in all of us in our lives, like somebody was not treated well, they didn't have a good upbringing, but they turn out to be very kind and very mature individuals. And we have seen where some places where parents are so thoughtful, they were given all the tools, everything, and that person turns out not so mature, not so kind. I don't know if that is so linear. It seems very non-linear, and there are so many other facets come into play, maybe their previous lives, or Krishna has a plan for them to learn things differently.
Yeah, I heard from Radhika Raman once, if any situation we could look back and understand the bigger picture of what somebody's come through, it wouldn't be any question why they're acting like the way they are. They'd just be like, yeah, I can see it. I understand it. So either way, one shape or form, whenever somebody's acting in a lesser manner, it's because of, some situation that they've haven't understood or been given the tools to overcome. So whether it's good parents or not good parents or this or that, we can still have the understanding that there's something that brought this person there. And I'm not here to judge somebody's karma. I'm not here. What I can do is instead look at my attitude, and my attitude can be, well, I don't understand, but there's definitely a reason why they're doing this, and I don't agree with it, but I don't not like them for it. I don't hate them for it. I don't treat them like my enemy for it. I don't get mad at them. I don't get angry for it. I just simply accept it as, something that's beyond my understanding, and then it helps me to, then you take responsibility for how you're acting in it, and it allows you to move forward. Like this young lady said, is that she sees it as her parents. Is it the parents? It doesn't matter. To be honest with you, there's something in their past that has, that's pushing them to act in this way. And I'll tell you what, raise your hand if you don't make mistakes. Raise your hand if you don't have tough times. And so I live by this thing. I pray that at my lowest moments, that people forgive me because, and so therefore, I'm going to forgive people at their lowest moments because I hope that I get the same. So do unto others as you. So I don't know. Well, this devotee's having a tough time right now. So let me give them some compassion, because I know that I'm going to be in that situation. Material nature is going to hit me at some time, and I'm going to be acting a fool. And I hope that people around me know my nature enough, that I'm nice enough and I'm a kind person, that they go, he's just acting a little bit, I don't know, maybe the neighbor dog bit him or something like that. he's having a tough time, you know what I mean? I couldn't sleep last night. I don't know, So we can take that behavior that we would like to be forgiven for when our shortcomings and stuff like that. And so when we see somebody else, whatever story we want to put in it, but basically the same concept is there. Is that, material nature's punching us in the mouth. And so Yeah. What do you think?
I was just sharing my observation that things is not so linear. There are a lot of facets to it, and it could be from.
I'm sorry. For some reason, I'm not hearing you very clearly. I apologize.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So I was just sharing my observation that things cannot be so linear. There are so many facets to it, and it's all non-linear, and it could also be not related to this lifetime. It could be just propensities from the past lifetime.
Some things can't be so lenient. Is that what I heard?
No, I was just sharing my observation.
Yeah.
It's not so linear. Like
linear.
Linear.
Okay,
It's
thank
not
you.
a linear,
Thank you.
like,
Yeah.
Okay, somebody
Yes,
got this
yes,
upbringing,
yes.
they're going to behave.
Right.
That's not always.
So I apologize if I
it could
answered
be-
a little bit in but I'm agreeing with you. Yeah,
Yes.
right?
So it was just my observation.
Yeah.
I was just sharing my observation. It
Very
could be
good.
just from propensities from past life,
Yeah.
or just, it's just part of Krishna. He's just, making
Right.
those incidents happen in such a way. So I'm just sharing my observation that it may not be so linear. It's just so many things are just
the same
non-linear.
comments still apply. You know what I mean? There's just a little bit different tone, I guess you could say. Any other comments, questions, thought? We got 2 minutes. Are we good? Okay. Oh, Mataji. See if you.
So my thought has been after this, like for 3 days we've been coming here and seeing Devyani's behavior. On day one, my thought was like, why are we even talking about somebody who's behaving like this? And later on, it got answered in the sessions itself that there is further story to it. And then it moves on, like Sharmishta gets into Yayati's life as well. And her son later on Puru becomes the lineage of Puru. That's where we have Pandavas and Kauravas, and then from Yadu we have Krishna, and all that happens. So after hearing it for 3 days, it's kind of like, and Sharmishta moves on, Devyani moves on, they all get liberated. So it just shows us a simple life as we have the free will, and like she was telling, nothing is linear, it's multidimensional. We have karma from past lives, from various past lives. So the best thing we can do today with the consciousness that we have, which is helped us by Krishna consciousness, thanks to Srila Prabhupada ji, we should just accept it, move on, and have faith in Krishna, and do the right thing in the best of our free will.
Let me just give one thing. Sometimes it's not just about accepting, it's about asking the questions to understand. So we're meant to, blind faith is condemned. But if we don't understand, then we're meant to ask questions. Therefore, we have our Shiksha Gurus, we have the mentors that we have around. The idea is that they should be helping us to understand these different questions when we don't have Srila Prabhupada to ask. But you can ask any devotee who has a relationship with reading Srila Prabhupada's books and listening from his lectures. You have a question, Srila Prabhupada will answer it sooner or later. Whether it's through his books or through his lectures or through other devotees, he'll take care of you. And so I was appreciating too that I think that this is a testament of Srimad Bhagavatam. At first when you step into Srimad Bhagavatam, it's a little bit like, what's going on here? Why, what? But you stick with it, and very quickly Srimad Bhagavatam reciprocates with you and helps you to understand and helps enter your life and helps to give very nice realizations. This is why we do this every day here, and this is why we encourage devotees to come and hear from our founder Acharya through his purports and his translations. And then we're encouraged to talk to each other about Krishna Katha. As Krishna says, my devotees take great bliss in discussing about me, and we're discussing about Krishna. And so we're very much enjoying this process of Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Vanchikal patarubhyascha. Kripa sindhu bhyevacha. Patitanam pavanebhyo. Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Antikoti Vaishnava Vrindi. Prabhupada ki jai.